I've had people tell me at speakers bureaus, why can't you just be normal? You know, why do you have to be different? Why do you choose to be this way? And for me, it wasn't a choice. And I wish people would accept my love is valid, the love that I feel, and my feelings is valid, and what I am is valid. And respect me as the person that I am in the same way that I try to respect other people.
Hello, my name is Noelle Hanrahan, and earlier this year I participated in a series of panel discussions about gays and lesbians in the residences at Stanford. We hope that you find the following selection from these tapings both informative and thought-provoking. We also hope that you get a sense for the diversity and the richness of the Stanford gay and lesbian community. The history of gay students at Stanford begins with the first 400 students to register in 1891. Meeting each other through sports, music, social, and a variety of pre-professional clubs, still, the Stanford residents provided the primary support system for gay and lesbian students. As more students came out in the 1930s and 40s, expressions of same-sex affection gained support. The extensive file on gay history at Stanford University Archives documents the increasing number of students who felt comfortable being themselves. The 1960s brought a new honesty and openness to the campus, and gay students organized some of the first student organizations concerned with gay rights in this country. Stanford gays and lesbians have remained proudly at the forefront of this quest ever since. The first question we try to address is the task of coming out in a residence, a process which is quite common in 1986, but which is still fraught with difficulties.
And I remember once I had talked to my RA and come out to her, and for some reason she had, at a dinner that I didn't go to, but my roommates had gone to, she had brought up the fact that she knew that there were, at least one or two gay people in my freshman dorm, which was Branner. And I remember sitting in my room after that dinner, and the two of them came back, and they were talking about that conversation they had just had with her, and they were going through all the people in Branner trying to figure out, well, God, who is this one guy? And they would list people, and they say, oh, and they would try and bring up all these kind of stereotypical qualities and say, well, so-and-so or so-and-so. And I was sitting there right in between the two of them, wondering what would happen if I said, well, it's probably me, because I know I had talked to her, and you're not even considering me, and yet the way that they were talking about the whole subject made it very uncomfortable. And so I felt completely frustrated, because here were two people who really thought that they were knowledgeable and were really going through and saying, well, it's okay, I guess, that they're here, but I wonder who it is. I'm glad I'm not living with one of the people that she knows. And I would have loved to have said, well, you've lived with someone for a whole year and it's been okay. But it was just really difficult then. And when I ended up telling him at the end of the year, it was fine. But I had that same feeling that perhaps if I told him at the very beginning of the year, it would have made the whole year perhaps a lot more difficult to get through on both of our parts.
I know for me in my freshman dorm, living in Branner, I couldn't even begin to think about telling anybody about my feelings that I was having, because just the fear involved. I mean, fear of what friends were going to say, just the rejection involved, and I know it was really tough as far as coming out. And I think it is really a tough thing that most people go through as far as coming out.
I think what I did was that in my freshman dorm, I didn't really come out except to I voiced doubts about, what my sexuality might be, sexual orientation might be, to certain close friends, and I didn't really come out at all. I mean, I maybe, tried out a few things, let it be known that maybe, I wasn't straight, but I didn't really, openly blast it out over to the whole dorm that, hey, I'm a lesbian. And it wasn't until I actually had a lover that it sort of, I sort of let it be known that I was a lesbian because this woman was my lover. And I think that one of the problems that I've had is that I don't know who knows, and who doesn't know, and how do they feel about it. Like, am I just naive? Do I just not know that these people don't like me because I'm lesbian, because I don't, I just don't talk to them, I don't notice that they're avoiding me, or is everything, everybody feels fine about it. I guess I have sort of internal constraints sometimes, about, will I say, well, I'm not around the house very much because I'm over at my lover's or my girlfriend's house a lot, or will I just say, well, I spent the night at a friend's house, and sort of that way I don't have to confront, the fact that, oh, you're going out with a woman? So then I don't have to deal with that, and sometimes I don't know, I just feel like, oh, I don't want to go into that.
When I was a fresh person, I knew I was a lesbian. I had come out the summer before I came to school. And when I got there, I felt like I couldn't tell people that I was a lesbian. I hadn't had a really serious relationship yet, but I knew I wanted to keep on seeing women. And I still felt I couldn't come out. So it took me until the spring quarter of my fresh person year to start coming out and start not lying about where I was going with my friends. And how I came out was I took a lesbian literature course through SWAPC, and I would bring home my books that said lesbian poetry. I would leave them on my shelf, and I'd take them to dinner. So I really wasn't pushing it, but I was trying to subtly let people know. And I think that really helped. It helped me feel much more comfortable. It helped me feel like I was being a whole person and I wasn't shutting out a lot of my life. I wasn't lying. Like when we'd go hot tubbing, I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't lie and say I was going to a fraternity party. I would say I was going hot tubbing with my friends, or when I had a lover, my lover. So.
I don't know, for me, it was real. I mean, there's a lot of personal struggle that I went through, but I don't know. Also, I mean, I had to sort of get to the point where the dorm, I was not going to pay attention to whether the dorm was going to let me come out or not, because it really wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't made easy, it wasn't like there was, space to come out, people didn't bring up the issues of, well, perhaps you're a lesbian or perhaps that you're gay. It was always assumed that you were going to be straight, and so, in that sense, that sort of assumption placed on top really didn't help me. It wasn't, conducive for me to come out in.
Yeah, and I think, there is, homophobia in the dorms. You see it in the bathroom stalls. I know living in Branner my freshman year, I saw, the writings of, fags and die fags, whatever, on the, the bathroom stalls, and you see it, in Meyer Library, you see it, there is like signs of homophobia here on campus, and so I think you see that, I know for me, freshman dorm, and hearing, fag jokes and stuff, I wasn't about to even think about coming out or telling people, because I knew that, as I felt that, well, nobody's going to accept me or going to be able to deal with me. And that is, I think, a big fear that we all, face or, have to deal with. And usually it helps by going to maybe a smaller dorm, like for myself, going to Alpha Sig, which is much smaller than Branner. Maybe thinking, well, I'll develop closer friends and then come out that way once you, just to your immediate close friends, rather than having the fear of, the whole dorm knowing that you're a gay person, the only gay person in that dorm.
I feel like our fears are justified a lot of times, because when I came out, it was in May, so there was only 1 month left, fresh person year. And my roommate said to me, she said, if you had come out to me earlier, I would have moved. I would have left. And, there's only a month left. And I felt let down by that, but I also felt like that's a real reality test. That's a check that we all have to go through. And we're talking about a lot of our fears, but also our fears are really there. really valid, connected to our reality. Following up on the process of coming out in the residences, we were next asked a series of questions about what our life was like after we accepted our newfound gay identity. While most gays and lesbians in our discussions feel a tremendous sense of honesty and relief in the process of coming out, some straight friendships and connections are often strained by the fact that society doesn't allow us to express our feelings towards each other.
One of my friends had a pretty bad experience at a dance once. He went there with his boyfriend, and during the course of the evening, while they were dancing together, people would intentionally dance in between them, and it became more and more continuous during the night to keep them apart so that they couldn't dance with each other. And sometimes I just feel like people, even if it's not that blatant, that a lot of the events I've gone to, sometimes I'm made to not feel welcome in ways like that, and sometimes I feel a little bit bad about that, because I'd like to socialize with the rest of the people. I'd like to be a part of the residents, and it shouldn't be this sort of dichotomous gay non-gay world. That's just my personal feeling.
In my freshman dorm, I didn't feel really comfortable about dancing with another woman, unless that woman asked me to dance, like if we were dancing in a group. And I do remember once asking a woman to dance. This was just like a part of my coming out process, and I just wanted to see, how would somebody react if I asked, how would a woman react if I asked her to dance? And she turned me down, and I remember being so angry at that because I said, well, if I had been a man, if I had been anybody other than a woman, she would have accepted, because it was one of these dorm dances where you just accept dances from, it's just like, okay, fine, great, dance. And I just sort of I just walked out of that party, and I remember walking around on the roofs of Flomo and going, God, I hate this world. But I think that, that hasn't happened to me. Maybe it's because of the friends that I now have, or maybe the places where I live now are more open to this. But I just do remember being very, very angry at that incident.
My freshman dorm, feeling like I couldn't really fit in to the sort of the social life that the dorm tried to create for me, or for all of the residents. And I remember in particular they set up this screw your roommate party, and the idea behind it was, you fix up your roommate with a date of the opposite sex, and that way the entire dorm is paired up with someone of the opposite sex, usually from outside the dorm, as a way of getting people to know each other and all that. And I remember at the time I was not openly gay. Certainly I don't think anyone in my dorm knew for sure that I was a gay person. And I remember feeling very uncomfortable about it, feeling like I didn't want to have to sort of pretend that I was straight and have a date of the opposite sex and go along and play this game, But I didn't feel like I could say that. I didn't feel that I could say, hey, wait, I'm gay, I don't want to participate in this. Because for me to do that, I would have had to sort of ostracize myself from the dorm. I couldn't participate in our big spring quarter social event, because I was gay and I couldn't fit into this screw your roommate party situation. So I remember feeling like, I couldn't be a part of my dorm because I was gay.
And that seems to go along with the whole thing about why there is no space for people to come out, is that you have all these things that where automatically a big social event is arranged around the assumption that you're going to be straight, and it's not even offered up in any ways. First of all, I personally don't like the screw your roommate party, but the title of it, but it doesn't really set up for finding that person someone else of any sort of sex. If it's supposed to be social, it doesn't have to be this heterosexual situation specified because you are pairing up a man and a woman.
I guess it is, like we've been saying, it's difficult to put yourself out there, but I guess I can bring up, I did go to the Viennese ball with my lover at, my junior year. That was definitely a very couples-oriented event, and and the fact that we went there together and danced together, I mean, was a pretty big statement. I mean, although we didn't go to make a statement or anything like that, it was just he was on the organizing committee, and he had 2 free tickets, and he said, "Why don't we go?" So I said, "Okay, let's go." But it did take a lot. I mean, I was really nervous, and I thought we were going to get kicked out. I mean, the minute we stepped inside the doors, but we danced together and had a really good time. I mean, nobody did. We got a lot of stares, but nobody came up and harassed us or did anything. If anything, I think people sort of looked at us and say, "Wow, that takes a lot of guts to do that," and sort of were able to see that, and that was really good. I mean, so it was sort of a positive.
I remember once when we were doing like Secret Santas or Secret Valentines, and at Branner, it was always assumed, okay, all the guys get all the women, all the women get all the guys. And then when I moved into a self-up later on, that wasn't important anymore. I mean, you just put all the names into a hat and pick them out, and whoever it was, you tried their best to think of an interesting gift, which seemed so natural to me, and yet the other way around, it kind of encourages almost this kind of us and them feeling between the sexes, which I don't think is really even necessary, especially at a place like Stanford, where you're trying to find skills that'll help you to function in the real world. And that kind of thing, I think, makes it difficult for everyone to, I mean, not just gay people, but I think that breaking down the barriers can encourage straight people, gay people, bisexual people, all people to realize what kind of barriers are set up and how best to circumvent them.
Beyond socializing in the regular straight context, we were asked a series of questions about socializing as gay and lesbian people. One notion that came up repeatedly throughout this discussion was the fact that we felt isolated and that there weren't enough ways to meet other gay and lesbian people. This can lead to a sense of loneliness, and we think it's a false notion that there aren't other gay and lesbian people out there. There are just many different ways of networking.
I don't know, I think it is a lot more difficult for gay people to meet other gay people, because even in the residence that I've been living in for 3 years or so, in which I was pretty close to all the people, but still, maybe you'll know who in your residence is gay or not, but still that doesn't help you in terms of the kind of larger university setting. And I found myself going either to places like GLASS, the Gay and Lesbian Alliance, which I knew everyone that was going to be going to a social was gay, otherwise they probably wouldn't be there, or through kind of friends that I knew were gay and they'd introduced me to their friends or so on, which is good, and I met a lot of people, and I probably know a lot of people now, and yet in terms of casually meeting someone or meeting someone in a class and saying hey, you want to go out and see a movie or something like that, or meeting someone, I guess in any other kind of more casual setting, I can't know. I mean, I wouldn't know if that person was straight or gay, and if it was a woman, then and I was meeting her, and I asked her out to a movie or something like that, even if she said no, that would be okay. I said, okay, that's cool. But if it was a man and he said no, there might be a whole lot of other things going on, and I might have lost a potential friend. And so I find a lot of times I don't risk that, and therefore perhaps I don't even get the friendship because I said this is just too much to deal with. And I think a lot of straight people don't really realize how difficult that is and how kind of restraining that is, because you just can't meet people in that casual way that a lot of people just take for granted.
Networking is a particularly important tool for women, to me and the women, because the lesbian community that is involved with GLASS is a lot smaller than that of men's, and so I find so often that Lisa and I will be talking, and we'll sort of have our own network, and you can kind of build out from each person what their portion of the network is, and each person has so many people behind them. So if you meet one person, potentially so many more. And it's taken till now, senior year, to build up where you can walk across campus and start saying that you can see people. Freshman year, you look out on campus and you can see thousands of people, and you're not going to see anyone who's maybe gay or lesbian. And so now it's it's hard to break into, but I think once you do, it's worthwhile. And it's a shame that it has to be so hard, because some people aren't willing to make that sort of effort.
I've made a lot of friends sort of through the network, but it seems like in terms of romance or relationships, it's been really random how I've met people, and sort of, I'll go to a party and I'll get in a conversation with someone. I mean, sort of the same way, but I think there's more sort of chance and risk involved, and so it definitely makes it a lot harder. And in some ways, it's a little bit more difficult in the residences because there's living that closely to people. There's a little bit more at risk, I think. So there's even more sort of boundaries to watch out for and stuff.
I mean, it is really tough. I mean, I had a lot of friends, in the dorms and stuff, but I mean, as far as doing anything and putting yourself on the line, I mean, you may be 99% sure that the person that you're interested in is gay, but I mean, that 1% is going to hold you back from ever doing anything because, I mean, it's that fear of rejection that, I wasn't willing to deal with as far as, being rejected.
Sometimes I feel like, well, I'm the only Asian American lesbian out there here, or at least here at Stanford. It's like, oh, you're doing a report on Asian American lesbians. Well, hi, here I am. You'd like to interview me? I mean, there must be more out there, but sometimes I just feel like I'm the only person I know, and right now I'm sort of like getting back in touch with my Asian American identity, and it's really hard to flatly meet people who meet other, I mean, even other Asian American gays. I mean, I know some, say Asian American men or Asian men, gay men. But in terms of women, I just don't know any.
In the beginning, when I didn't really know how to meet people, I mean, most of my friends were straight, or at least I assumed they were straight. And eventually, as I went up to class, I started to meet more gay people and started to make more friends among the gay community. And then finally, after about 5 years here, I've been able to feel that I don't have two different communities that I'm always dividing my time with. I mean, okay, now I'm going to spend time with my straight friends, and now I'm going to spend time with my gay friends, because I didn't really like that, because it felt really unnatural, and it felt like I was constraining myself, and that if I did that, my life would just always be split, and I didn't really want to have that feeling, because I gained a lot from all my friends. And so now I've been able to integrate both parts of my life and been able to introduce people, I mean, my straight friends to my gay friends, and it's no big deal anymore, which is a great feeling for me, and I think good for, I mean, a lot of my straight friends who would never really have come into contact with gay people before. And on the other side too, because I know a lot of gay people who have a tendency to perhaps only kind of hang out with other gay people just because it's easier and you don't have to go through some of the kind of explaining processes that you need to go with straight people. But it's taken a long time, and I've had to work very hard at it. It feels good now, but people should realize perhaps that they need to make that kind of an effort, and that things don't happen easily. I mean, you have to work at it, but it's worth it, I think, in the end.
In this final section, we were asked what constructive suggestions we could make to RAs and to straight students in the dorms based on our years of experience with all of these issues.
I think that's one thing that the RAs can do, or perhaps maybe in the training part, is that help them become more aware of what their actual role can be. Help them to perhaps organize social events that aren't based on this kind of opposite sex pairing up. Because if you start off with that premise, then the entire mindset of the whole event is limiting one segment of the population, which isn't really fair.
I think it is important to just be sensitive to realize that there are other perspectives and ways of looking at things, that, to recognize differences, that we all individually bring something unique, to every relationship that we, are involved in, and that is important. I mean, we don't really learn to accept differences and to acknowledge, that somebody has a different culture than what I might have, and it's you sort of learn that, well, I'm better than them, or it's the sort of division of us and them, and that's really, just to realize that there are a lot of differences, and to respect those differences and not, make any judgments or as anything bad. I mean, I guess that'd be one suggestion that I might make for RAs, and I think it is important. I mean, having gay RAs is really important because that helps with, I'd like to think that if there are any people that are dealing with gay feelings, that they would, maybe feel comfortable going to maybe a gay RA, or knowing that at least they have that as a resource, a person that would, somebody to talk to, and not just for gay people, but for, straight people as well, that if they had any questions can go. I think that's really important that we see Res Ed doing that, which is really good.
Ask me about my girlfriend. Once they know I'm gay, the hardest thing for me to deal with is people's silence. So my parents' silence about asking me what's going on in my life, because it's awkward, it's nerve-wracking. But I really appreciate when people put themselves out. And I don't care if they make mistakes, because it shows they care about me and what's going on in my life. It's more the mistake of, silence or ridicule that's the real problem. It's not, the problem isn't just having people talk and get comfortable with it. Because once you're comfortable with it, after 3 years, I've been out to my parents for 3 years, they're great. They let me have my say, and they ask me questions about all my different lovers and girlfriends, and it's been good. It's been really good.
Having the speakers bureaus, I mean, that's what, that's a chance to go out and to ask gay people, questions. That's what the speakers bureaus are for, and that's what I think it is really important to, because we don't expect everybody to know, everything about what gay people are about. We don't know everything about what gay people are about, and we only know about ourselves. And so it is important, if you do have questions, or anything, don't know how to deal with it, or are feeling uncomfortable about it, if you do have a roommate, or, even ever thought about, God, what if my roommate was gay, or having to deal with, to use that time to go and talk to people and not be afraid to ask any, questions, because it is important.
Now that you've had an introduction to some students in the gay community, we'd like you to try and take a look at the heterosexism in our society that we all participate in. We'd also welcome you to participate in any events that the Gay and Lesbian Alliance puts on during the year. They include quarterly dances, Wednesday night socials for men, Sunday night socials for women, and many and varied activities that we have during Gay and Lesbian Awareness Week during the year. Thank you, and this is Noelle Hanrahan. For more information, you can contact the following groups: